It hurt to read. Did it hurt to write?
Oh, this book, my other books have not been difficult to write. This one was, I literally called my publisher up a few times and said, I can't do this, forget it. I just can't do it. My agent kept saying, yes you can, yes you can. You can.
I can't do it because?
Because as I went through this box of letters and diaries, what I was finding out about my mother, the earliest letter I found in the box is one from my grandfather to my mother when she was 16, where he says, you're a dear girl and you have a fine mind, but you're going to have to accept the fact that you're homely. And you're going to have a really hard time finding a husband. And, I sat there. I have this little writing cabin up in the Berkshires, and I sat out there and thought, why on earth would she have kept this letter her entire life? And, thinking, if I had gotten this letter from my father, which is impossible, he never would have written me such a letter. But, the cruelty of it was so, and he didn't mean to be cruel. That's the thing that's so amazing, to see, right in that very letter, you see how different life for my mother and her generation was.
That's right, he was trying to protect her from spinsterhood.
Yes, he was just saying, this is, get used to it.
He needed to marry off his daughter.
Right.
And he was protecting her.
And he was protecting her, but she carried that around for her whole life. And even when she's in her late 70s, she's still got this image of herself as a homely woman.
So you're sad the whole time you're writing this book?
I was devastated. And then I find the letters she wrote to her psychiatrist. And I had thought, these stories, which are very funny and tender at the bone, of these, where she poisons people and they're in the hospital getting their stomachs pumped, which are, sort of family legend, and I thought they were funny.
But they're full of ironic distance.
But I didn't think that she thought about them. And then I read these letters to her shrink where she is humiliated and brought down by these episodes. And, it's so painful, and it was just hard. I just, every day I cried as I was reading these letters, and I kept, digging down, and I'd find another one, and as the layers, and my mother's, she was not orderly. She's sort of like me, and she just threw things in, so things would float up in this big box, and I was constantly uncovering some new, piece of evidence about, what promise she had had, and how disappointing her life was to her.
Well, your sadness is absolutely powerful in the book, and I was on the verge of tears reading it. It comes through, I don't want to say beautifully because it's so sad, but it comes through. One of the things that also leaps off every page of the book is how unhappy your mom was when you were growing up. And you make it very clear that your resolve to be a professional woman came from her absence of that hoped-for goal. But how else did it affect you to grow up with such an unhappy mother?
Well, for one thing, it made me leave as fast as I possibly could. I just wanted to get away. But, I think the other side of it is it gave me a sense of my own competence. I have always been grateful for my capacity for happiness. My husband says I have too much serotonin. I am basically, it's probably my best quality.
Muzzle tough.
It doesn't take much to make me happy. I get great happiness out of little things. And I think part of that was I felt when I was young that you can make that choice, that you can choose to, food for one thing. Food was not a source of happiness for my mother. It became a source of happiness for me. And I tried to find things that, even in my most unhappy times, when I was a miserable teenager, that would get me through that.